Example 4 is the trickiest problem from this section, but if you read through it carefully, you'll see that there's nothing in here that we have not already done in previous examples. So to begin with, it says that Alan loans $2,000 to Betty for 8 months at a 12% annual rate of simple interest. And then in part A, we want to know how much does Betty owe Alan at the end of the 8 months. Okay, there's nothing complicated about this problem. This is a direct application of that simple interest formula. The original loan amount was $2,000. The amount of time is 8 months. Betty was loaned the money for 8 months, so T is 8 over 12. That's the same thing as 2 over 3. And then the interest rate is 12%. So that would look like this as a decimal. So the amount of money that Betty owes at the end of this 8 months is A equals 2,000 times 1 plus 0.12 times 2 over 3. So when I calculate that, I end up with $2,160. That's the amount that Betty will have to pay back at the end of the 8 months. Okay. Now part B is where things get a little bit tricky. It says that after 2 months, Alan needs money for car repairs, so he sells the loan to Chris for $2,050. What annual rate of simple interest does Chris earn on his investment? Give the answer as a percentage. Okay, one thing that I think will help understand this problem is if we draw a diagram. Okay, so initially at time 0, Alan loans $2,000 to Betty. Okay, now at 8 months later, so at time 8 over 12, Betty repays her loan, and she pays back $2,160. Okay, so that's just what we saw in part A. But now in part B, it says that after 2 months, so this is 2 over 12, Alan needs money, so he sells the loan to Chris. So what that means is now Chris is the holder of the loan, and Betty will have to repay the money to Chris instead of Alan. So Chris buys the loan at time equals 2 over 12, and he pays $2,050 for the loan. Okay, so now we want to know what rate of interest Chris earned on his investment. So the first thing is to figure out what time we need to use. In fact, for this problem, P is going to be $2,050. That is Chris's initial investment. A is $2,160. This is how much Betty is going to have to pay back to Chris. R is what we want to find. So the only question is what T is. But notice, as far as Chris is concerned, he makes the investment 2 months in, and then he's going to get paid 6 months later. So there are 8 months total. This is 2 months. But this is going to be 6 months. So Chris is going to get paid back 6 months after he buys the loan. So we're going to use T equals 6 over 12, or 1/2 for the time. Now that we have all that figured out, this problem is actually fairly simple. A, the accumulated value, is $2,160. The original amount that Chris invested was $2,050. 1 plus R is what we want to solve for, times 1/2. So I divide both sides by 2,050, and I get 1.0536585 equals 1 plus R to the 1/2. I subtract 1 from both sides to get 0.0536585 equals 1/2 R times 1/2. Then I multiply both sides by 2, and that tells me that R is equal to 0.107317. And then finally, I'm going to give the answer as a decimal, rounded to 2 decimal point. I'm going to give my answer as a percentage, rounded to 2 decimal places. So 10.73% is the answer. That's the rate of interest that Chris earned.